I'm going to call the meeting to order. I have 7:07 p.m. We are being broadcast live this evening and recorded for rebroadcast. I need to ask if anyone else is making a recording of the meeting. No. Okay, the first item on the agenda was a 7 o'clock public hearing for the town of Auburn relative to the Pappas Recreation Complex, relative to the request for an amended order of conditions. I understand that the assistant town engineer came in today to ask for a continuance.
Yes, she did sign the paper.
She signed the form and...
Yep.
And when did they request a specific date, like the next meeting, or do you need more time?
I don't think she was sure.
And they had to make some kind of changes in the plan, is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that was either. It was nothing major, just something minor, but she said they're not in a hurry to do the work, so they're not in a hurry to put it in, so I didn't want to rush it.
Okay. So we only have one meeting in December, which is December 11th, so might there be a motion to continue that hearing?
I would move to continue the 7 p.m. hearing to December 11th.
I'll second that.
7 p.m.
I think we have another hearing on at 7 o'clock, don't we, Sheila? For the bylaw regulations?
Yes, and then I've got a 7:15 for someone else. So
So
7:30.
7:30?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to continue it to December 11th at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay, in that it's not yet 7:15 for the next hearing. Did you want to take up the minutes of the last meeting? I know it's kind of at the end of the meeting, but...
Usually wait to get here till the end, but...
Excuse me? I didn't hear what you said, Sheila.
No.
Concerns about being beat up
Oh,
by
By Dean.
the young man to my left.
Hey, I've been nice lately.
I know it.
Yeah.
Long time.
lately.
Don't get used to it.
She's not.
Don't worry, I won't.
She has the scars.
Jeez.
Sheila, on the first page in the paragraph about the Pappas rec site, 85-4, it's the DEP policy 85-4. Can you just stick DEP policy in there before 85-4,
Okay.
please?
Yep.
And actually, on page 3 under Camden Drive, the selectmen didn't go for a walk. I know they had a layout hearing, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know, that paragraph's a little bit, the selectmen and the planning board. The selectmen had a layout hearing. The planning board had been working on the matter with Adam Birney and the developer, but the selectmen and the planning board did not go on a walk out there.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure how you want to rework that, but...
Page 3, first paragraph. Biodegradable. The B does not need to be uppercase.
I'm not finding everything here. Third page?
Yep, page 3, fourth
Page
line.
3.
Up at the top.
Okay. Oh, here it is.
Camden Drive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11th line. The detention basin and sewer connections is a fragment. So maybe it's supposed to be 2 items still need to be
Yeah,
addressed.
those were 2 items that were still
The
outstanding.
detention basin and sewer connections.
Okay.
At the end of that paragraph, it says, needs to be built, located, and shown on the as-built plan.
Needs to be built.
It's just kind of,
Yeah, that's how I...
I don't know what
Okay.
needs to be built, whatever.
I think it was
The
detention
overflow
basin.
spillway.
Yeah,
Okay.
it had to
And
be
the
added to
defined
that
step.
detention basin.
You say it needs to be built then?
A couple lines above that also, the overflow spillway 100-year what is stabilized and needs to be modified.
Hmm.
I think two thoughts may have been put together there.
Probably.
I think they were trying to accommodate the
Multitasking.
100-year storm event.
Yeah, you could probably take 100-year out of
I
there.
think so too.
Right. Okay.
Maybe it's designed for a 100-year event.
Hi, Louise.
Our first hearing requested a continuance, so we're just going over the minutes before the 7:15.
I think I'm,
Books of the Heritage are all wrong. Books of the Heritage are all wrong.
Oh,
on page 4, under regulations, it says the board discussed the Auburn fees. It should be the Auburn filing fees.
okay.
Probably should be the proposed Auburn filing fees.
The what?
Yeah.
Proposed Auburn filing
Proposed,
fees.
okay.
Or proposed Auburn bylaw filing fees.
Let's get really specific here.
Or Auburn
Regulation.
wetland bylaw filing
Actually, it's
fees.
That's right.
Regulation.
Auburn
Wetland
wetland.
regulations.
Regulation.
Proposed Auburn regulation filing fees.
No wetland?
Well, it's the wetland bylaw regulations.
You know,
So what would someone like me to do then?
Proposed Auburn regulation filing fees.
Okay. Thank you.
I think on page 5, under Berlin Street,
Yeah?
you wrote, I did speak to Jason St. Pierre and informed him that the commission will not issue a certificate of compliance as there is an ongoing order of conditions.
Okay.
Anything else from anyone else? No? No?
Nothing really jumped out at me.
All right. Might there be a motion then?
I move to accept the meeting minutes of October 23, 2013 as amended.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstained? That's right, you were not here. Thank you. So voted. Okay, I have just about 7:15. So, the next item on the agenda is the Town of Auburn Notice of Intent for the Auburn Middle School, 5 to 7 West Street and 280 Southbridge Street. 780 Southbridge Street. Is there a motion to open this hearing?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Who's here to address that? The Auburn Middle School. You.
I'm Eric Moore from Limo Pagano.
Okay.
I don't really have a presentation. I think we've discussed the project at the end, red hearing. We can walk through it again if the board wishes, but I thought we'd turn things over to your questions relative to the project.
Well, I just heard today that it's in peer review and there are some issues with the drainage. DEP made some comments relative to the fact that there's no infiltration. And as a result, I guess, from what I understand from Adam Burney, that's being looked at by your engineering firm and...
I can run through a summary of that.
Are you Mr. Prasad?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You did that, that's great.
Yeah, we loaded a flash drive onto the computer, and there are a few images.
Okay.
Is that something we can
Can you do that, Dan?
run
Yeah,
from
can you
here? Or?
operate the mouse,
Yeah, there's a flash drive that they put into the computer.
go over where it's highlighted, see a little folder down at the bottom next to the Chrome, yeah, I think it's in there.
Open that up. And then there's a folder called Auburn Middle School at the top.
I'm in a mess.
DD at the top.
DD.
And then Design Development Drawing, I'm sorry, Site Plan Approval Directory. And
Would you
Should probably
like to
bring
go
up
to-
the sheet that says it's notice of intent utility plan. I can look at it first. It shows the, it's a black and white image of the utility drawing that shows the buffer zones, et cetera. I can run through the drainage. Would it be easier for me to go here or here? Probably here? Okay.
That's fine.
So just to orient everybody, this is West Street up the top. Southbridge Street is out this way. This is kind of a blow up of the development portion of the site. Doesn't show the entire site, but it shows the utility systems. So what I'll do is I'll run through what our original scheme was, and I'll talk about the response we got from DEP and then where we're headed for the rest of it.
All right, thank you.
So, when we originally were meeting with different town departments, we spoke with the Water District office, and they had given us a request to refrain from infiltrating runoff generated by traffic surfaces, the parking lots and the roadways. So what we did was split there were two systems we were looking at. This is an infiltration system. It's going to infiltrate 100% of the roof generated runoff. This in this area is a subsurface closed pipe detention system that was going to discharge pre-treated runoff from all the roadways. So we were meeting the water quality standard requirements for that discharge, et cetera. But because of the nature of this site, highly permeable soil, we kind of reached a scale of peak flow mitigation that wound up being gradually more and more impractical in terms of meeting the peak flow mitigation requirements 100%. So although the flows being discharged from this system the peak flows are being reduced very substantially for most of the storm events, we were still missing the pre-development peak discharge rates at this outlet by a little bit for the lower level storms and by a fairly sizable amount for the 100-year storm event. So we presented that condition, and that's what's reflected in the notice of intent materials you have. Requested an exemption from that and from a portion of the recharge requirements because about half of the impervious area was not being directed to a recharge system. So although we actually had volume here that just about met the requirement, it wasn't receiving adequate flow. So DEP's response was that they were not going to allow that, and their preference would be to, basically a standard system, infiltration of pre-treated stormwater from the roadways was preferable to exceeding the standards for those two areas. So what we're going to be doing, and I related that same information to Jeff Walsh at Graves Engineering. He's aware of that. So our intent is to go back to our original scheme, which was that both of these areas were going to be infiltration fields. This one will probably be an infiltration/detention system, but it'll have a recharge component, and we're confident that once that is reflected in the overall site design, we'll be able to meet the standards for peak flow and for recharge. So we don't anticipate that being an issue, but it's going to be a revised design, revised hydrology calculations that'll be sent to Jeff Walsh directly. So that's a plan. What our goal was, we just met with planning board last night.
Yeah.
Our goal for this meeting will be to flesh out additional issues and comments that the commissioners have specifically, and then roll all this together into a revised package that'll go back into Graves for their review. So that being said, if you want, we can switch to the plan that said the NOI dash grading drawing, which is right here.
Okay.
That shows more the full extent of the resulting work, and we can kind of walk through that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm assuming the commissioners are familiar with the overall layout that this really hasn't changed in terms of scale or configuration from the schematic design that we reviewed informally last time. This is the wetland area. This wetland and this one are the ones that are associated with Dark Brook Reservoir. And this red line here is the corresponding 100-foot buffer zone in that area. This is the 100-foot buffer from this isolated wetland on this side of the site. This purple dashed line is the existing water department and gravel access road that runs through this area. So what's happening here is the grades are being adjusted to allow for passable access. It's actually an egress drive that comes around the back of the school and exits to West Street. So the main activity here is really just a widening of the road and some fill to bring that up to allow access to the back. And there's a graded slope showing that's basically out to the limit of the property boundary.
Now, what is the fate of that path? Is that being replaced, or is it being cut off and then there'll be an alternate access to it?
There is an access that's provided, for some reason it doesn't seem to be showing up very well on here, but there's an access to this path right in here. So the water department will be able to come up basically the wrong way.
And then it'll split off at that point.
Right, there's a gated access to this existing path right here that goes, kind of links back into their I think it actually matches back in over right here.
What's the intention for replacing the parking at the boat ramp?
Want me to comment on it? It's not being replaced. Is the intention.
Has that been a discussion with whoever's responsible for managing the boat ramp, because that people are losing access to it,
Well,
if that's the case?
Do you want to talk
Well,
about that?
we have, the topic of the boat ramp has come up. It's not an official state boat ramp or even a town boat ramp. It's not formally recognized. It's something that's, I think it's developed over the years, and it's by frequency of use and habit, it's become the boat ramp.
The town does maintain that, though, you know. The DPW does. The highway
They
department
do?
maintains that.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. The access to that boat ramp requires that vehicles, trailers cross the road there. It's not an ideal situation in terms of visibility and traffic.
It's actually it's a hazardous condition.
The fire department has commented on it. They've had instances where they've had boat traffic and trailers interfere with their training operations there. To the point that they've installed a guardrail along that side of their facility. You can see kind of zigzagging back and forth. Our recommendation would be for an alternate location to be developed for a boat ramp that could be, something with appropriate parking and turning radiuses and traffic flow and circulation. Sight lines, rather than to continue to use this one.
I guess it's not really our issue, but of course there's the question of where exactly would that be?
Well, right now it isn't proposed, and there aren't any changes proposed. And, according to Adam Burney, he did tell me that the fire department utilizes that location for training with the boat, with the fire department's boat. So I don't think it's really known yet what's going to happen over there from the conversation I had with Adam today. But, if something changes and there's a proposal that involves our jurisdiction, then surely we're going to have to look at that
Right.
down the road. But right now, there isn't anything, as I understand it, there aren't any proposed changes that are part of this application. Is that
To
correct?
the actual ramp? But
Right.
No.
We're not doing, there's nothing that's affecting that.
I mean,
That's part of this.
An initial scheme that was looked at, included provision for replacement of some of that access parking, but the preference and instruction that we received was to, do the project as a school exit drive and not
Right.
make it a combined
Right.
issue, and not to encourage continued use.
Well, like I said, it isn't really, it's not part of this application that's before us right now, but I think, I don't think it's off the table for discussion either. But anyways, can you talk a little bit about the flood storage capacity? You indicate that you don't have to comply with, or that this,
The FEMA mapping in this area.
yeah, you said it's incorrect?
Well, it's a zone A with no base flood elevation listed. It graphically shows the limit of the 100-year floodplain
Yeah.
crossing over West Street, and the
Right.
fire department doesn't have a record of West Street ever flooding out. So based on that, information, we think that it's more likely that the actual limit of the floodplain would be, at most near but not exceeding the lowest elevation at West Street, which is around elevation 613 plus or minus.
Let me ask you a question. In that we typically rely on the FEMA maps for guidance to document these sorts of things,
Right.
you contend that their maps are incorrect. How, is there some sort of an appeal authority? I mean, do you have to go to FEMA and get that documented that they're
No,
incorrect?
if you look at, I can't remember what the exact verbiage is, but if you look at the corresponding section of the Wetland Protection Act, it lists criteria for dispute of the FEMA mapping. I think it's actually in the narrative listed. I can't
Okay.
remember exactly what the wording is, but there's an option to present an argument based on historic, actually I think it does say historic information.
Preponderance of the, yeah,
Yeah, so
okay.
that's basically our position on it. And, additionally, if that flood elevation was reached, the portions of the fire department training area would have been inundated previously, and as far as we know, that's never happened. So it appears as though the mapping is really based on an interpolation between USGS contour data, 3-meter contour map data, versus real on-the-ground information. And again, it doesn't have a base flood elevation associated with it, so that's.
Okay. Does anybody have questions?
No, not right now.
Are you going to be using the water department's, are you widening that road? Is that what the plan is?
It happens to be in the same, it's along generally the same alignment.
Okay.
And all of your work, as you state in here, it's all in the buffer zone. There's no alteration of wetland at all.
No, I mean, the closest point would be the replacement of this existing outlet down here.
Yep.
And the intent there, basically right, what's there now is a head wall with some minor riprap dissipation. So that would be completely replaced with a fairly large energy dissipation sump and apron. So, in a practical course of doing that work, the very edge of the, where that contact with the water is will probably be altered temporarily while it's being
Yeah,
rebuilt.
so it isn't really buffer zone then, is it? It's
Well,
really-
I mean, technically, if you look at the actual flagging, it's right up to the flagging. It's not actually in the flagging locations.
Yeah, but if you're gonna be replacing a head wall,
The head wall's not in the well. The head wall's,
it's above.
right, it's removed and back from the edge of the actual line.
So there's no wetland mitigation plan because there isn't any disturbance.
Right.
Okay, that
There
was
may
my
be some
only
temporary
question.
disturbance, but no permanent.
I mean, just
you're
the
doing
practical
work.
disturbance of having
Yep.
construction workers there,
Right.
and a matter of feet, inches.
But you'll have your erosion controls in place and all that.
There'll be an actual erosion control sump there. Oh, I mean, before they do the work, yeah, it'll all be completely ringed in that area.
Anything else? We've pretty much been over this before with the ANRAD, as you said. most of us, I think, have been out there too. I think right now, really, all we're waiting on is to hear how the changes go with the drainage, with the infiltration systems.
Okay, and we're, assuming that there'll be other, general
Comments.
site
back
design
and forth.
comments, and,
Yep.
that'll be part of that, but, that's really the only major alteration that we're anticipating.
Now, the planning board is only meeting once in December,
That's
as
right.
are we. They're meeting on the 10th, we're meeting on the 11th. Do you anticipate that these revisions will be done by then?
Our goal is to have everything done and back into peer review at least a couple of weeks before that meeting. That's, as the next week or two unfolds, we'll, see how realistic that is, but that's the plan at the moment.
Okay.
That'd be easier to nail down once I actually, we actually see the initial review letter.
Right.
But if it's as we're anticipating, it shouldn't be a problem to do that, and that's the goal, to get everything wrapped up during December. The overall project schedule includes what's referred to as an early bid package release for the site construction, which is intended to be distributed in January.
Right, 'cause I heard you want to start construction in March, that's the
Correct.
target.
Right.
Okay. All right then, are there any other questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Any public comment, questions? Okay. Then I would presume that you're agreeable to a continuance to our meeting on the 11th.
And like I said, what we really would like to do is if there are any overarching issues that any of the commission members have, that, we'd like to roll those into, this
Right.
round of,
Yep.
so,
All right, that being said, is there a motion?
Yeah, I move to continue the public hearing to December 11th at 7:45.
So it's going to December, not January.
12/11
Okay.
at 7:45?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion to continue to December 11th at 7:45 PM. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay. Sheila, do you have a form for them to
Yes,
sign?
I do.
The continuance. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I tried to get a hold of Mary Ann DePinto at DEP, but apparently she's off for a few days.
Regarding the,
Well, she had sent me an email last week to tell me about the infiltration issue, and she,
yeah,
so.
well, they were very explicit about their comment.
She said she was going to be updating her comments on the DEP file number,
Okay.
so I haven't seen that yet.
What, in addition to does she have other comments?
That's what she said. She didn't tell me what. She just said that she would most likely be updating her comments. I think she emailed me Friday. I tried to reach her yesterday and couldn't.
Okay, I haven't looked back on the website yet.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Would someone like to sign that for me?
It's just to verify that you
So
agree to a
we still
continuance.
have two no-shows off the list.
What was that?
We still have two no-shows,
Oh, okay.
non-returns. One of them got returned,
All right, I see.
got a rejected address, I'm waiting on
Okay.
2 cards.
Okay.
So,
All right, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you again.
So?
But you're in a newspaper.
Okay, since it's after 7:30, the next item on the agenda with a public hearing scheduled for 7:30 for Michael Stachel at Lot 2 Pinrock Road. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted? Are you here on Pinrock Road?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the landlord.
Okay. All right. The hearing is open, so why don't you join us at the table? I'm not sure what the sidebar conversation is in the back. Why don't you come up to the table?
We started building on the original plan that
Yeah.
I received
Mr. Stachel?
yeah,
Okay.
that I received when I purchased the land. The pipeline company came and shut it down. I guess they were bought out by Kinder Morgan 5 years ago. And
What's the name of the company?
Kinder Morgan. Here's the requirements to go over the pipeline. And initially they said that we wouldn't be allowed to go over the pipeline. So I paid to have new plans made to,
Right.
to start on this side of the
An
land where the
alternate
house would be.
access, right?
Yeah. And then we tried to letter of denial this morning. And he actually called back a couple hours ago and said we would be allowed to go over the pipeline. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But there's all these requirements, and honestly, it's going to be kind of like above and beyond what I could afford to go over the pipeline. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm facing right now. So I was hoping that the new plan to go straight up. I think it's 120 square feet more of wetland that would be impacted, and we would rebuild it. But yeah, they shut it down. They said that we could do the old plan, but we'd have to move it over more. If you're looking up the pipeline, go to the left more of the pipeline, because I guess when the engineering company wrote the plans out, the culvert would be hitting the pipeline. So I paid already to have some trees removed, and then the pipeline came over because it was so close that the markers, when they vibrate, they set off like an alarm. So they came down there, they checked it out, they shut it down, and then we were talking to them. They said you couldn't go over the pipeline because when I purchased the land, they said you put steel plates over the pipeline and just notify them you could drive over, and that's how it was 5-6 years ago. And since they've been bought out, there's been new, stricter guidelines to going over the pipeline. So I would like to go to the side of it, not touch it at all, just go straight up. It'd be cheaper for me, and then easier as well.
Just by way of information for the board, I had a call late yesterday afternoon from Jason Dubois from Burton Engineering,
Yep.
indicating that he had a conflict this evening, and the other engineer from their office
Yeah,
away, out
that's
of
what
town.
he told me too.
So we talked about this, and I actually told him we were going to need some documentation that the pipeline company, wasn't going to allow you to do this.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm sure prompted the request for the letter of denial.
Right.
Because we needed something to document that you could not go the way that had been filed on originally. And then, as I told Mr. Dubois, given that we know that there was an alternative, we need to figure out. You're supposed to do an alternatives analysis under the Wetlands Protection Act to document why you can't take the shorter route and the route that's has less impact to the wetlands.
Right.
And so I'm not certain whether Burton Engineering would be putting together some kind of an alternatives analysis to
Right.
document that. He didn't say one way or the other whether they would or they wouldn't. I
And-
just told him we needed to have
And
some.
I know the new plan's like it's 112 square feet more,
Extra, yeah.
but I don't know if we go to the left, if it's less, more, or whatnot. Because David Wood, he's the permit. He's the man that gives the permits out to go over pipelines for Kinder Morgan.
Okay.
And he said if we went to the left of the pipeline more, it'd be okay because the culvert wouldn't hit the pipeline. But then the cost of going on the pipeline, you have to pay them to come in, dig it all up, and then there's their own guidelines of filling it back in with layers of sand, and then you have to put steel plates back over that to go over it. I don't know how much more or less it would be to go to the left. I do know if you go to the right of it, never go over the pipeline, it's 120 square feet more, which it's like a 10 by 10 room, you know?
Now, Mr. Dubois had indicated that it's not really known how close to the surface the pipeline is. It could be as close as 6 inches or as much as 2 feet.
Yeah, the guy who came out said it was 12 inches.
They have to do a test thing to
But,
figure out
yeah.
the depth of it first.
Because it's all uphill, so he wasn't certain where it changed, fluctuated between the depth. But he said it,
6 inches doesn't sound like.
yeah. And there's 700 pounds of pressure in the pipeline, so that's why we don't want to go over it at
They
all.
want
You know?
5 feet of coverage.
And then when you go over it, yeah, you have to build up 5 feet above it.
Oh, so right now it could be 6 inches, but if you go over it, you
They
have to
do
build it up to
5
5
feet.
Create a
above.
big
Yeah.
hump
Wow.
in the driveway.
So I mean, when it comes down to plowing issues and other things going up and over, it just be kind of crazy. Then Jason said you guys would probably deny it, but walk it because you wanted to check
We
out.
were gonna
the-
deny it. What he and I had talked about, he said, do you think you're gonna need to do a site visit? Which
Okay.
I told him we probably would, because it's been, I mean, I think the filing from
It's like
the
5,
prior
6
owner
years
was
ago,
2007, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what the board would want to do, because Jason had thought we'd probably continue it to the December 11th meeting, and
Mhm.
he'd come to that one.
Yeah.
And I think maybe his plan was to have the issues, to have that alternatives analysis ready for then.
Okay.
I know you're, from what he told me, you're pretty anxious to get this rolling.
Yeah, I mean, this sent me back a month, and then it's gonna be another month. So I'm gonna call because this is my contractor, but I'm gonna call David Wood tomorrow and kind of ask him why he said we couldn't do it, and then he changed his mind because it's $505 just to get where I am today.
Right.
Extra.
And you've been sitting around for a month thinking that you
Yeah.
couldn't when you could have,
Mhm.
but there
And
are a lot of
He
regulations.
canceled a lot of jobs to do this job,
Right.
so now he's sitting on,
But given the fact that, I mean, you were given misinformation a month ago,
yeah, well,
which
Yeah.
is what I said to Du Bois. I said, was it just a worker that told him that, or did the denial come straight from the company?
came right from the permit.
Right, but now you have,
Now it
you have
came back
documentation today
Yeah,
that you didn't have before.
right.
Well, board questions?
No, I think until we see the alternatives analysis, we're kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think, will we have it done by the next meeting?
It seemed as though, I mean, they've got a whole month, and I didn't think of it at the time, but there's no replication plan here either.
No.
And so we're gonna need a replication plan also. So, I mean, I can give him a call and tell him that I'm sure with them.
He went on vacation. He'll be back next Thursday.
Oh, okay. So a replication plan and an alternatives analysis
Okay.
of what's needed. Now, if the board wanted to take a site visit, do we have your permission to go out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Now, who did the wetland flagging for you?
For the road,
Well, it must have been Mr. Du Bois, right?
he did the center line, and then
Okay.
I marked it out 12 feet from each flag that he placed.
Okay.
The driveway has to be 24 feet.
Now, have you already gone before the planning board for this? Or do you have to?
The plan that I purchased, when I purchased the land that came with it, it got extended.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was going with the pre-existing plan. I'm building pretty much the same footage of the house that's there. So yeah, we got accepted, right, the plan?
Originally it was.
Yeah, resubmitted.
He bought the land and he thought everything was ready to go.
Right.
That was part of his purchase and sales.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now he got that.
Now, have you brought the change in the plan to the planning board?
No, he said come here first to make sure that the new plan was okay with the
He
driveway.
said come here first. Who's he?
Jason,
Oh, okay.
do this, and then once it's passed, you submit the new
Okay.
plan.
To the planning board.
Because the only thing, we wanted to get an amendment at first, because the only thing changed is the driveway. The first,
Yeah.
400, 500 feet. Because we'd be connecting into where it met over the pipeline
So-
originally.
Someone had given us, and I'm not sure whether you did this early on before you filed the new notice of intent. Do you
I
remember
think
this?
that was Du Bois.
That was him that did this?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, I was trying to figure out, can you see this? This was what,
The yellow is the driveway, the green
Right.
is the new driveway.
yeah. Is that still what you were looking at?
Yeah,
you
I
done?
was wanting to do the green if possible. The straight shot.
Right,
Because the S was okay with me at first, and then when I found it wasn't, I'd rather go straight to it anyways, It's less work, 'cause it's costing a lot to just
Right.
remove the topsoil from the land because of the wetland.
but I'm sure in 2007, Mr. Stelmach did it the way he did because
Yeah.
the Wetlands Protection Act, you're supposed to do what you can to minimize
Yep, that's
wetland impact.
Yep, that's
You
what
know.
Jason said.
So if doing it that other way was less of an impact, that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a reason why you can't. So, anyways, all right. Does anyone else have any questions while we're here? From the board?
So there's gonna be replication over in this area, well,
Yeah, More
To the
replication
left
than
on
before,
the
he said.
drawing.
Yeah, it's gonna be the original replication, just enlarged by 112 square feet.
Yeah, he told me that he had added more replication, but we don't have a,
Right.
we don't have a replication plan to go with the
Yeah,
notice of
I
intent.
talked to him
Right.
today, he said he had it, and,
Oh,
but he was going away. When I spoke to him, he was like
Just
out
trying to
of
get
the
an
office already.
idea of where it
Okay.
is, that's all. Because, yeah, this isn't gonna be accurate compared to
right,
what we get eventually.
okay. Is there any public comment, any questions? Could you just have your name for the record and address, please?
Jerry Cronin, 26 Penrock Road.
Okay.
And I'm watching this. First of all, I'd like to know how come nobody was notified by registered letter that there was a meeting on this evening?
It's my understanding the applicant is responsible for notifying the abutters, and the process has always been, according to the regulations, you go to the assessor's office, they give you a certified list of abutters, and that's what the applicant uses to notify abutters. And I spoke to our clerk earlier this evening, and she told me of your situation, and your name does not appear on the abutters list that came from the assessor's office.
They definitely
Don't know
find
why.
me on the assessor's office where they tax me, so I mean, you know, that's
But
not
you're
my...
not on the list that
That's
the
not my
applicant was,
fault.
and it's not his either.
And by law, you should be, by the Wetlands Act, we should all be notified
We have to.
by registered mail, and none of
It's
the
certified
abut-
mail, not registered.
Certified mail, none of the abutters
None
were.
of the abutters that are on
No.
that list?
No.
Do we have the green card?
Yes, I've got it. He
You have the
emailed me this.
returned receipts for them?
Yeah, she's got them, she said.
Certificate of mailing, I don't know. This is what
Right,
he
but
sent
that's where
me.
they went out. If we've got that verifies that they went out,
Mm.
then that's all we need. The practice that everyone across the state utilizes is you get the list from the assessor's office, the applicant does, not us.
Okay, then there must be a reason why I got them all from John Stelmark when he was trying this many times before.
I can't explain it, sir. We're not the assessor's office.
Yeah,
They,
Here's the list. I
it
mean, I
seems
just
somebody
wanted
wanted to
to-
keep us off the list, but anyway,
I-
it seems by just listening to this, that this is a cluster that nobody seems to be knowing what's going on.
what do you mean a
There's wetland
cluster?
involved, I can't say the whole thing, but you're modifying the original plans from the previous owner.
We haven't done anything, sir.
Well, this is what it seems to me is about, is it not?
This
I'm
is a
trying to
br-
find out what it's about, and-
This is a brand new notice of intent
which we weren't notified about.
to build a single-family home
Mhm.
and a driveway that crosses a wetland.
Mhm.
That's what the notice of intent is for,
Okay.
okay? There is, because they're gonna cross the wetland, they need to do wetland replication. We don't have a replication plan for how they're going to do that.
Is that in the plans that they're going to
No, that's
redo
why
the
they have to
wetlands?
come back.
That's why we're just saying, we don't have
can't do it
that.
tonight
Okay.
because they don't
We
have
need that.
everything.
Mhm.
And we also, because originally there was a proposal from the prior owner, Mr. Stelmach, that would have caused less impact by crossing that pipeline, the gas pipeline. There would have been another means of access to that site that would have caused less impact to wetlands. And under the regulations, if you're going to impact wetlands, you need to do what's called an alternatives analysis to verify what alternatives you explored to minimize that would have caused less impact and why you have to go with this one. In this situation, his problem is the pipeline company. Apparently, from what I understand, you were in process of building like a month
I was
ago.
following the previous plans, and the pipeline
Right.
company shut it down.
The pipeline company came out here, I guess you notified them that you were working.
Yeah, they
They
said,
came out here, told me they had stopped.
yeah.
So he in turn hired Burton Engineering from
So they were
Stockbridge,
the
They
ones
were
that
the
made the original
original,
plan,
right.
and I
contacted them.
yeah.
So anyways, as a result of all of this, now we've got a proposal for a road, a driveway going straight down instead of veering off the other way. So now we have a new notice of intent with this gentleman as the property owner, instead of Mr. Stelmach, with his proposal to have a straight driveway through, crossing the wetland. But we don't have the alternatives analysis as to why the road's gotta go here and not someplace else, and we don't have the replication plan. So those are the two things that we need the engineer to provide to us.
And we will be notified of this when it comes?
We are not required under the law to notify you again. We'll be telling you tonight before we continue
Okay,
the
because they
hearing.
didn't notify me this time. Did you be
Sir?
sure my name is on there? I mean, I paid the taxes.
Excuse me, you do not have the floor now.
Oh, I thought I was finishing my statement.
As I was just saying, to answer your question, before you leave tonight, we will continue the meeting to a date and time certain, and that will be your notice of when the meeting will be continued to. That's what we're required to do under the law.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Is there any other comment? Okay. As difficult as it is, I hate to ask you for a continuance, but we do need the additional
I understand,
information.
yeah.
So,
So what are the two things? You need the analysis and...
the alternatives analysis
Mm-hmm.
and a replication plan.
Yeah, it's kind of bad timing that they left.
I know.
I'm gonna talk to David Wood tomorrow, the permit, the guy that handles permits for the
For
pipeline
the
company.
pipeline company, right.
And he said, I don't know how many feet to the left, but I'll run that by Jay, I'll send him an email.
Jay being Du Bois at
Yep,
Burton
Jason,
Engineering?
yep.
Okay.
I mean, whatever way's the easiest to pass, I'll go with. Going with pipeline is a lot more. I'm not too sure exactly how much more it's gonna cost. I don't know if you take that into consideration when it
Well,
comes up.
It depends on, the amount of the wetland impact versus the cost. I mean, you're not supposed to sacrifice one for the other, but
Right, yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of practicality. If it's not, I don't know what the difference is in the impact.
Yeah, he told me by word that it was 112 square feet, but
Right.
you need the analysis before you.
Exactly. You have to
Okay.
demonstrate
We can't,
why
like,
it's
give
got
you
to go.
advice. We have to see.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I
You gotta
understand.
make your argument
Once
for
you
why
have
it's gotta
something,
go
we can
there.
look at it.
It's like asking a lawyer for advice without paying
Right.
him. Yeah, I
Right,
understand.
that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so, that being said, is there a motion to continue this to the 11th of December?
So moved.
I'll second that.
To,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, all those in
Busy
favor?
December, huh?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so voted, I know, nice before Christmas. Okay, so sir, did you get,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I forgot the abutter's name.
Mr. Cronin?
Mr. Cronin, did you hear the meeting is gonna be December 11th at 8 o'clock?
Yes, I did.
Here, okay?
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
You guys want this?
I'd like to put it in the file if you don't mind.
Yeah, we just received it.
Okay.
Does he have a complaint about something?
Hmm?
Did he have something to complain about?
I think he just thought he was deliberately left off the list.
Oh, he
and I
felt
told him-
left
That's,
out?
that's the
I
accusation,
was
yeah.
supposed to be in the paper, and that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
You did, but you sent out, Burton Engineering sent out the certified letters.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
okay.
I mean,
They
if
were
that
not
didn't
on the
happen,
list,
then there'd be
I
a
think.
Oh,
problem.
he did,
Wait,
yeah.
wait, they should come back with the return receipts.
Yeah, no, I paid him for that too.
Yeah,
I
no, I
just,
got
Right.
that. I
Okay.
got all that.
You have the green cards?
'cause, yeah, it
Well,
was-
I
No,
don't have
but
the
we have
green
the
cards,
proof
but
that
he
they were mailed. That's all
emailed
you
me
have to
this.
do.
okay.
I mean, if the list is incorrect, that's not our issue.
That's
Where
not
did
our
Be nice to
issue.
get the green cards.
Where
back.
is
Yeah.
26 Pinrock? Is that the guy right across?
He's right across
right
the
across
street.
the
Oh yeah, yeah. I was told about him.
But I mean, we have to, the law says you get a list of abutters.
Yeah.
The applicant did that in good faith, they sent out the certified mail.
Okay.
He's right here,
Yeah.
and I don't know why he
And there
wasn't
wasn't, we
on the
put the
list.
hearing notice in the newspaper.
Yeah, he's the closest one too.
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't on, and he's not on the list.
Right, it isn't as though
Yeah.
he's on the list and didn't get a letter, he's not even on the list. We don't know why.
Maybe he's a guest.
Pardon me?
He's a guest. He really doesn't live there.
No, I guess he's lived there for
No,
40
thank
years.
it's there.
See you guys.
Okay, we'll see you next month.
Yep.
Thank you.
Your assessor's office tomorrow.
Well, he was told that
Can I
yesterday.
just tell you we're running out of high quality buildable lots in town? I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
I remember walking that.
Yeah.
Wetland
but
here,
on the other hand-
wetland here,
It's a very tough
wetland
site. It was
here,
also very
wetland
wet.
here.
We
It's like,
walked it, I think in the
Just way
summer,
out
early
Yeah.
summer.
And it's such a
have you lived
long,
here very
I
long?
forget what the distance is
right,
on
but the
that
thing is, it's
driveway.
like,
Very
people
long.
aren't
If you look at
necessarily
the
entitled
notice of
to
intent,
build.
it appears that
You know.
Mr. Stelmach sold it to
Well,
this gentleman for
As long as they follow
$30,000.
the guidelines, right?
July,
But they haven't done that yet.
I think that kind of reflects.
Right, but the thing is
The,
to
the
complain about
challenges
cost
posed by
when
the
you
site.
know there's
Oh,
all
it's
this.
much.
Continue it.
I have no
That's
idea.
a lot. That's
What was
a
that?
lot right there. That's 1,200
Which-
square feet. It's
Daniel,
100.
did you
What's that?
second the motion to continue that last hearing?
I think I seconded
I
it.
think
Okay,
Chuck
we'll
did,
give
yeah.
Chuck credit for it.
One or the other.
Okay, we're down to the bylaw regulations.
Dun dun dun.
We are planning a public hearing on the regulations for our December 11th meeting at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
I know, here's somewhere here, Sheila did a nice little listing for
Yeah,
us of
spreadsheet.
the
I like it. I love spreadsheets.
fees.
Use them all. Buy it? Oh, I see.
I thought it was kind of interesting looking across the page at
Yeah.
whose are exactly the same as whose and who have none.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, there were two towns, was it Leicester and Sutton that were?
Well,
very
Lester and
similar?
Sutton, yep,
Although Sutton
Right.
has other fees.
right.
Yes.
But I mean, we seem to be a little bit high on quite a few of them, I thought.
Well, this was based on
Needham.
Denny and Center.
Right.
We're gonna do those.
Exactly.
So we need to figure out what we want to charge.
So it looks like Sturbridge actually has fairly few fees,
Mm-hmm.
but Grafton has many.
Yep.
And Worcester, of course, has a lot.
But
Yeah.
Grafton actually has some fees that Worcester doesn't. Huh.
Why does
Parking.
Grafton have two, it has an RDA and a delineation? Get that, what else has that?
You know what, they may allow people to use the RDA to get a delineation through. We voted years ago not to do that. You had the choice under the regulations. You either can require the ANRAD or you can accept a delineation under a request for determination of applicability. We voted not to do that years ago because the request for determination of applicability had no filing fee associated with it.
I see.
Whereas the ANRAD did, and if we needed the services of an expert, we could utilize the funds to hire one. So that was why we voted.
What do you think? What do you wanna go for RDA?
25.
25? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So should I just change these as we're discussing it,
I think so.
and then
Yeah.
we'll vote on it at the end?
Yep.
Now, do we want to charge a separate fee for delineation or not?
No, because she said we don't.
No, because we don't, I think you should just take that right out.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we require, if someone's going to file just for delineation, we require that they use the ANRAD process.
That's fine. Okay, good. So I think that's a good idea. All right. For an ANRAD, how about 50?
Sure. And what about the per foot thing?
What about the what?
What is the per foot thing?
I'm not even sure what that means.
Well, under the state law, they have to pay so much per foot up to a certain, I forgot what the numbers are, but you pay so much per square foot, I mean linear foot, up to a maximum cap.
Okay.
And it's quite a bit of money, and I don't think you should be charging, to me, I don't think you should be charging a whole lot over that.
So what did we decide?
So we're
Just
gonna
gonna skip it.
But of course, you know, as Dan Cochran, the other Dan pointed out, you know, if at some point in the future you're going to depend on these fees to support having a staff person, maybe that's something to be thinking about.
Should we go with the Grafton number again?
10 cent per foot?
No.
I'm sorry.
25 cents.
Do you want to count
No one
that?
else does that. Well,
No,
it's just
Grafton
10
and
cents.
Sturbridge.
I mean, do you want to count it though?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure what this per foot thing is, actually. I would
You just leave it
assume
out
we
for
leave
now?
out, I guess.
Well, no. I mean, we're getting to the wire. I mean, we have to make a decision on this.
Well, why don't you just leave it at $100 filing fee then?
Well, because we have 3 on
Skip
this
the per
chart
foot.
that don't have anything.
Right. We could go low and say 10 cents a foot. something.
But then,
They'd have to figure it out.
But is that going to be
themselves.
like, is it, like suppose your wetland delineation was, I don't know how many feet long, I mean, you're going to be paying, you could be paying a ton of money.
well, not necessarily. I mean, if it's 3,000 feet, then it's only, if you go with the storage number, it's
It's only
$300.
$300, but don't forget, you got a state fee under there too, you know?
Well,
And advertising.
Yeah, but
Well-
we're not talking about the state stuff. That's not out of our hands anyway.
I mean, what we could do is we could eliminate the per foot requirement and go with a $100 ANRAD fee, just a flat
Yeah,
fee.
you could do that.
So that's what I would suggest.
So you're going to go with $100 for an ANRAD?
That's what I'm suggesting, and then just cross out the per foot requirement. Okay.
And, yeah, the whole thing with the RDA again, do we even have that anymore? Because the buffer zone is now,
Well, that's my
Lisa,
other
sorry.
thought, because we didn't exempt minor projects from filing, and we called the buffer zone a resource area. And the strict interpretation under the wetlands regulations is that you can't use a request for determination
For a
for
minor.
projects that are in a resource area.
okay.
So, and we talked about maybe we'd exempt some small projects,
We did.
and maybe allow some small projects to be filed on a request for determination. You know, like somebody's going to
A
build a
shed.
deck on their house and it's,
A fence, I don't know.
yeah, it's like 50 feet away from the resource area or it's closest, or it's, you know, it's a buffer zone really, but it's 50 feet away from a brook, say.
Right.
Does that deck really need a notice of intent? I don't think so
No, I don't
myself.
think so either.
I think it's kind of rather onerous and burdensome on the person
So
building
the only
it.
reason I asked is because we have this minor notice of intent thing.
Right.
And I
But
would
what could,
suggest,
is this something we can address in the regs?
Well, I thought we had talked at the last time about
Having a
maybe
list.
putting some sort of an exemption in the regulation for certain projects.
We had.
And maybe if you come across something that's not in your regulation, maybe you could leave it open-ended as, or I don't know if we'd be accused of being
we've got to be very
arbitrary, but,
specific about this though. We've
pardon?
got to have a list. I think we've got to be very specific at this point. We can't be,
I mean, what I would do, if we're gonna go in that direction, I would,
we're at the
actually,
end, yeah, we have to,
I put in a definition of
Lay it
minor
out.
project.
yes.
And then, and that's for us to decide what is a minor project and do that right now, and then figure out where in the regulations we can put the exemption in. I mean, again, we're kind of, we're
This is the
sort of,
last minute,
this
so
is really, well, this is, we wanna, have a public hearing on
the 11th.
the final regulation, so this is the time to,
Yep.
to, you
Right.
know, work out the bugs here.
Okay.
Right.
Do we have a list of what would count as a minor project that we've used for other purposes, that we don't just have to pull this out of thin air?
Well, it's not a question of pulling out of thin air, Dan. I mean, we have, based on our experience as a collective board, we can come up with some ideas, fences, sheds, that sort of thing. And we can also, I mean, we can leave it, not open-ended necessarily, but we can leave room for similar projects, you know. So why don't we do that? Why don't we come up with a list of what are minor projects?
I think fences,
Okay.
How about above-ground pools?
Yep, that's a good one.
Okay, so fences,
Above-ground pools,
sheds,
yeah.
decks,
above-ground pools.
decks.
Dog houses.
Oh,
Here we go.
now, what do you...
Gazebo? What about a gazebo?
Or a gazebo and other similar structures?
Yeah, I guess structures without a foundation.
All right, let me ask you a question. Suppose somebody was going to build a garage onto their home,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just going to be a slab. There's no foundation, and it's in the buffer zone resource area. But the closest point of that construction is going to be 80 feet away from a brook.
So you're going to define the number of feet?
Well, to me, well, do you feel that given
Depends
what
on
I
the slope.
described, do you think that needs a notice of intent?
Depends on the slope,
It
too.
depends on the specifics of the site.
What's the vegetation? Is
Oh,
it a
right
slope
now-
like this?
Right now, if you had a project like that, right,
Mm,
and someone came in with a request for determination of applicability, as they could,
mhm,
because it would be in the buffer zone, not in the resource area.
Right.
And they proposed on their plan hay bales and silt fence between the work area and the wetland. Based on our history, we'd probably allow that.
Mhm.
Probably would.
But this is, again, something that we should allow for judgment, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know if you can
Right.
say, because if it's flat or, you know,
Right. I mean, if someone's putting a garage on and it's 90 feet away from a stream and it's flat,
mhm.
it's probably going to have no impact,
That's
Right.
right.
you know? And why make that homeowner go through the whole rigorous process of a
agree.
notice of intent
Well,
for something like that?
we have a definition for an RDA
Okay,
in the regs. We have it in there. It says, a request made by any person to the Conservation Commission for a determination as to whether a site or proposed activity thereon is subject to the bylaw. So I think what we do is that we define what minor projects are.
put it right there.
We could put it right there. Yeah, actually, the way to put it in there, you're right. For a determination as to whether a site or proposed activity thereon is a minor project.
Such as,
Well, I would still do a separate definition.
Is that something we could lift from another town's bylaw as well? A list of what counts as minor projects instead of reinventing the wheel?
we have.
I mean, do we have a
Okay.
pre-existing?
All right, now consider this, all right? We're gonna meet on December 11th. We have a ton of business on that day, all right?
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do that, it's gonna take a concerted effort
Right.
among us to get it done between now and then with, work responsibilities and a holiday coming up and travel and so on. So if you wanna undertake that, Dan, be my guest.
I mean, otherwise we're gonna have to leave the definition fairly open-ended because we're not gonna come up with a totally comprehensive list of everything that's gonna apply.
But that's
Right now.
that's what an RDA is
Oh.
intended to deal with. You can't encompass everything.
And you could still come out with a positive determination and require the filing of a notice of intent anyway.
But I guess my question went back to, we get this minor notice of intent thing as well.
But you know what? It's a major undertaking, and there's a, at least right now, there's a fee attached to it,
But you gotta remember too,
more than the RDA.
and I don't think that the minor notice of intent, I'll bet,
What is
that
the
whoever has
definition of
that, they probably don't call a buffer zone a resource area.
Well, in Grafton and Lester don't even have a minor notice of
Right.
intent file.
Well, I'm just questioning, have we defined that, what a minor notice of intent is yet?
No.
No.
Okay.
That's why I think we just eliminate it and just go with
Oh, okay.
defining what a minor project is.
Right.
Okay.
Okay?
And,
That's-
to me,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you think, Mike, or the rest of the board, but in that section you just read, I think that you could put the list that we just came up with,
Add it to the requested determination.
put that in as minor projects, and then you had said something about as determined by the board, or something, you had
Leave
said
the
left.
door open a little bit,
Proposed
but give some
activities
examples.
such as.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
That you could
We
permit.
need to
through
have
the-
discretion on that.
You could, if someone filed for something like in my example, the board could determine within its discretion whether or not the board considered that a minor project.
why don't we do that then? And instead of actually defining a minor project, let me take a crack at it,
But
okay?
aren't we talking about a notice of intent, not an RDA?
No,
we're
we're
talking
talking
about
about
an
request for
RDA.
determination.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so Sheila, under the definition of request for determination of applicability
Right,
and the regulations,
I've got it right here.
okay, this is what I'm gonna, let me work through it.
Okay,
Request for determination of applicability means a written request made by any person to the Conservation Commission for a determination as to whether a site or a proposed activity is a minor project and therefore exempt from the bylaw, period. Minor projects include the following, : fences, comma, sheds, comma, above ground pools, comma, decks, comma, gazebos, comma, attached building renovations that do not require excavation, comma, gazebos and similar structures.
Did you specifically, I missed it, did you specifically say in the buffer zone there, or did you?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
But that's a good point. That
I think that has to.
that are proposed to be built in the buffer zone.
just this part. Minor projects, fence, sheds, above ground pools, decks, you already said gazebo, so I'll scratch it right there, and then building renovations that do not require
Excavation.
excavation, okay.
And should the following line be, other projects may be determined as minor at the commission's discretion?
Or will be determined on a case-by-case basis.
Proposed to be built in the buffer zone, determined,
Or other projects
or other projects.
as determined on a case-by-case basis.
As determined by the
commission.
commission on a
As
case-by-case
determined.
basis. So if you can just, take a shot at that and,
Yep.
and email it to me, we can
Okay.
massage it. All right, I think that we've addressed that then.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, so when we go over the fees, then the rest of the fees, I think by making that change, we can just scratch out a minor notice of intent in that
Yep.
fee.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
We gotta knock these numbers down.
well, we can, I mean, we can, you know, refer to the others. I mean, we can take a mean if you want, but it's funny how, for example, for residential notice of intent, they're really kind of, they vary, you know?
Mhm.
Worcester's 200, Sutton's 250, Sturbridge, I won't even touch Sturbridge.
Yeah.
Grafton's 100, and right now we have 250. I think 250 is too high.
Me too.
It's higher than Worcester. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
You mean you got a request for determination is what, $25?
right.
I mean, to me, 100 is plenty.
Yeah, I think 100's good.
100?
Yes.
Do you guys agree on this side of the table?
I was gonna say 150. but
150? Denise, what do you think?
100's a round number, whatever.
I thought 100 would be sufficient.
Okay.
So,
Going once,
100?
going twice.
Good enough.
Yeah, I think 100's okay.
I
gotta do that.
125. No, 150.
175. 110.
We'll make it like a bid.
$100.
It'll be like a reverse bid.
Okay.
Okay.
Multifamily?
I mean, how many well, what is a multifamily? How many three-deckers are being built in Auburn these days?
Duplex or townhouse?
Yeah, but you got, yeah, exactly. Duplex, multi.
There's townhouses around.
Yeah.
Should we
I
simply
can't remember the last time we got
should we cut that to 200 because we
yeah.
I was
cut
gonna say
Everything else
200.
in
yeah
I was gonna say 200.
because the other number was just double.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
So 200?
200 for the
For the multi,
multifamily.
yeah.
Okay.
Subdivision looks like 500 is the consensus.
so we should scale them
agree.
accordingly then.
I agree,
Yep.
500.
Okay.
This is the only one I don't know about.
Commercial.
Commercial. That's high too.
We have a fair amount of commercial.
We do. Worcester charges up to 5,000.
I know. I
Wow.
don't think
That go over too well.
Mm-mm.
but
Leicester's 500. Sutton doesn't charge anything.
Which is
yeah,
very
but they don't
peculiar.
have any either.
That's,
No, they got, well, they got more
that's why they have no commercial
That's why they
development in
don't.
Sutton. That's right.
That's illegal. No.
Let's put a disclaimer on that right now. We don't know anything about Sutton.
Well, I think it should be more than subdivision, though.
Yes, I
Personally,
think
because
it
there's
should-
some huge projects
So make it
out there.
750.
I can live with 750.
All right, 750.
Yeah, you gotta remember, if we did have staff and it didn't have to go to peer review, that money would be utilized for the staff person's time
Right.
to review the project.
Correct.
Now, roadway and infrastructure, it looks like only Grafton's charging for that.
Grafton, Worcester, yeah.
Not even Worcester.
So, you know.
I mean, how often do we get a notice of intent strictly for just a roadway?
For 20, a big one.
That's true, that's a state project.
Big.
Yeah, but that's
We have a
exempt from
lot of
filing
roads.
fees anyways.
We
Well,
have
that's
a
my point.
lot of roads, guys. Seriously.
But that would also be, would it not, like if you were a developer, you were proposing a subdivision, sometimes they come in and they file first for the road and the utilities.
True.
And then they come in later and they file, like Mr. Stelmach has done that
That's
on
true.
Several of his subdivisions. He files for the road and the utilities first. And then he comes in and for any lots that are within the buffer zone or affecting the resource area,
It's funny,
he files on a lot
Grafton's
separately.
the only one.
Grafton only charges 300.
the
Now,
only
what's
one.
interesting though is it's the same rate as commercial. I'm looking at Grafton.
Interesting.
How about charging 750? Or 500?
I think I'd go with 500 myself.
Puts us way out there, but
What, 500?
there's
So
no
that
one
would be-
else is charging.
Well, no, actually Grafton's
Except for-
charging 300.
Yeah, Grafton is the only one, but
So why not just go with what they're charging?
I mean, Ann's right though. I mean, sometimes we do see it's sort of a bifurcated process.
oh, I like that word. Look that up in
Well, I
Google.
think, like, I know
I'm glad.
Mr. Stelmach did it because it was, in his mind, it was easier and cleaner to file each lot separately so that when he recorded them at the registry of deeds, as he was done, he could get a certificate of compliance for that lot.
Each one, yeah.
It was easier to keep track of them,
Yeah.
you know? So that's why he did them that way.
750, huh?
And of course, that was, you know, those, every lot's a different new filing fee, so. But that's $750 over and above what the notice of intent charge anyway, right?
Why don't we just take what Grafton's doing?
300.
You know, if we don't have anything else to go by, then
We got a lot of roads, but yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Well, you gotta remember the town roads are gonna be exempt from us anyways. You can't charge municipalities the fees.
No, it's going to be a private developer.
Right,
Oh, I see.
in a subdivision.
But aside from Stelmach, who else does this?
Well, didn't Paul Jem do that
He might have.
with Deerfield? I mean Deer Track? Not Deer Track,
Yeah.
Deerfield, I think it is, Deerfield Road.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think he might have.
I think he filed just for the, because he was filing as an open space plan.
Right.
I think he just filed for the road and the utilities.
I can live with 300.
Okay.
Okay. Now crossings, apparently, everyone charges except for Sturbridge.
250.
Which really surprises me.
Okay.
250?
I would say 250. 'Cause that's what looks pretty mean.
it starts to look weird though, because of course that's totally the reverse of the way that Grafton does it.
Well, we don't
that
really
point.
know what their methodology
Yeah.
We
was.
don't know what they're doing down
Yeah,
there.
how did they
They might
decide
have, like,
which
you know,
one's
just
more?
They might have had a dartboard and they were
Oh,
throwing darts.
jeez.
You know, I mean, it'd be nice if there was some rhyme or
Yeah.
reason to it. And I think again, by you know, you can kind of gain a consensus by what some of the other towns have done. You know,
What about driveway?
well, what
What
about?
did we decide on crossings?
We haven't.
Oh, we have,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought we decided on
Crossing's
250.
250.
I
Well,
was
someone
proposing
said it, but-
250.
I would accept that.
Okay.
We good on that? Okay.
Okay, now.
I don't know, driveway?
You know, now that's a little strange because I can't remember the last time we got a filing. Usually
for a driveway.
it's not just a driveway, it's a house. I mean, it's
Well, we just got one.
And I'm assuming that's a driveway not
the
crossing a
exception
wetland,
that,
right?
that proves my point. Is that,
That would be a driveway that doesn't cross a wetland, right? Because we get crossings.
then that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Well, unless
it's in the
within
buffer
the
zone.
buffer zone.
And then that might even be a minor project.
Well, then I guess we're covered with crossings.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a way to knock down the crossing fee for single family, you know, because it looks like they get 500 and then they get 50 to 100.
And then Leicester, Sturbridge, and Sutton don't have any
I mean, I
fee there.
can't see, if you've got a driveway and it's not in a resource area, then why would you, why do we need to charge a fee for it at
Well,
all?
I don't think we have to.
No, I don't
Let's just
either.
leave that one out.
I just like leave it out.
Again, I think it was trying to make it less for single family person, that's all.
Right.
I think we should just omit it.
I mean, most filings that come in, they come in for a single-family home with a driveway and associated grading and utilities.
And they usually try to keep the driveway out of the wetland.
They used to try to keep it out of the buffer zone too, but now
Yeah.
that the buffer zone is a resource area, it's
Yeah,
going to be
right.
really tough.
Well, that might
Given
be
the
one
challenge
of
of
our...
the topography we have left in the community, you know?
Oh, that, you know what? Then maybe we... But you said that's a crossing, so, okay.
Right.
All right. Drainage.
Now, again, that
Sutton's an outlier.
Yeah.
Sutton's the only one.
Right.
I wouldn't, you know what, I wouldn't
Leave
even
it.
charge.
Okay. Septic. Charging money for a
We
septic
rarely
system.
get a plan with just a septic system.
Yeah, and usually when you do, it's because the old septic
failed.
system failed, and they have to comply with Title
5.
V standards.
So we probably have had some of those. We've had some.
We've
We had one a
Yeah.
couple months ago.
I
Right.
think where it was.
So
Is it
I mean,
Tinker Hill?
$50.
I can't remember.
yeah, I think it should be, a fee should be charged.
50?
$50.
I think 50's all right.
Oh, we had that one with the tank.
And then where it says residential addition garage, I say no.
Yeah, I say get rid of that.
And where it says parking, I don't see the point.
No.
Okay.
Parking. Wait a minute. How many parking lots have been going up around town in wetland buffer zones and things?
None as that I'm aware of.
Wasn't
And I
there
mean,
some
usually you
question
have-
on one
oh,
down
there
by
was.
Mass
One, yeah,
Pike?
across from the water
Chambers.
Yeah,
district.
I raised that.
But the parking, typically a parking lot's gonna be part of a project.
Exactly.
We had a
commercial
parking, well,
project.
we had a parking lot on Route 20, Prospect Street, not long
Yep.
ago.
That was storage.
Big one.
Right.
Right.
Herb Chambers.
It's a parking lot. Is it paved bituminous
Parking
concrete,
lot for the
whatever the heck they
employees
call
on,
it.
You're right. I
on
agree.
Appleton.
One that we have the parking lot on Southbridge.
This
where we
parking
went on
lot's
a
coming
site
up
visit.
everywhere.
District, yeah.
Right.
Then you want to charge a fee? It seems like you do.
It's annoying me with all these parking lots. You kidding me? I don't want the town to turn into a parking lot.
Well, and this is talking about parking in a residential
Okay, I
area,
just want
right?
to know.
Oh, okay.
No,
just
no,
wanna
that's
note
separate.
that Only Grafton charges, but if you want to go, Chuck, I don't want to.
No, it's just struck a nerve with all the parking lots. We don't have to charge.
I realize
You're
I
right.
felt
Yeah,
so,
we can
so
always
passionate about this.
We can always amend these regulations down the road.
Yeah.
We can have another hearing and amend
No, I
them.
think he wants
I
to
want
charge.
something, but
He does.
I don't know what.
So wait, so
Nobody
residential, there's a
charges
separate
except for them.
category?
What's that?
It's residential and then fewer than 25, 25 to 50, more than 50?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
First I
you're
know
only
what
charging that if
residential
it's in a
was.
residential zone?
Yeah, never mind. I don't understand this, why they do this. So I'm going to
Because it
be
looks like
honest.
residential is its own entry
I mean, actually,
there.
you raise a good point. Who's going to build a parking lot that's zoned in a residential zone? It's not permitted,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
No,
I
they'd
think
have to
that's
get
a
some
separate
kind of a
category.
special permit or a
They-
variance,
they
I'm not
would.
sure.
Isn't that a separate category though, Mike?
What's that?
Because it looks like there are 4 categories here. It's residential, then
they
it's
don't charge
fewer than
anything.
25, 25 to 50, greater than 50, which are presumably not residential.
Oh, you're saying that's not residential?
That looks like that's a different
I think you're
category,
right.
because it looks
Oh,
like it's a
well,
different
in
line
that
in the
case-
chart here. So that's probably why there's
Yeah,
no
I
fee and there's a
think-
fee for the other
Then,
3.
you know
Because
what?
it's bad for drainage. They always have to do stuff with it. You know, and it's.
Then I think
ugly.
we should go with the Grafton.
Go with
numbers.
Grafton.
I agree.
Okay.
It's
So
terrible for
residential is
wetlands.
going to be 0, but commercial is going to be the Grafton numbers.
I agree.
Okay.
If people are agreeable to that,
Sounds
I
good.
think it's a great idea.
I'm just tired of these parking lots everywhere.
You two can defend the fees here.
We will.
Okay.
That's okay.
Say, well, Grafton did it.
Grafton did it, that's a reason.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
still find it's funny calling it bituminous concrete as opposed to asphalt.
I know,
I mean,
okay.
really?
Yeah, it's not concrete at all.
It's the same
Same.
thing.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
where are we at?
Order
Order
conditions.
conditions.
We're doing good.
OOC. Down to OOC.
Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I personally feel that we shouldn't be charging to give somebody an order of conditions.
Ah.
Well, but
Well, this is to amend
this
it.
To
is
amend
not.
order
Just an
conditions.
amend
Amend,
it.
extend,
Not
or
to give
waive.
it.
Not to just write one out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not, no, not the original order
This is-
conditions.
It's to
If-
amend
They're
it.
messing around with
If
stuff.
they, if, you know,
Then
if
we
they come in
decide.
and they want to put a playground in, for example, just as an example, my
Or-
job,
Well,
or
then
a
I
parking
think you,
lot, for
why
instance.
don't you charge the same fee as the initial notice of intent?
we could do that too.
Because I mean, it could be 5 years later and somebody wants to amend an old filing.
Okay. So we want to charge what, $100?
Do you think that's?
500?
What are you saying now? The order conditions
The amended
amendment is
order
not the same
If
as
somebody
the
comes
notice of
in and
intent.
wants to amend an order of conditions,
Yes,
we have to reopen the public hearing to decide
Yes.
if we're going to accept it as an amendment,
right.
or they have to file a new notice of intent. So if you're going to go through that process, it's essentially almost like a notice of intent.
It's-
Well, and the notice of intent would get the fee from that, but on the one where they just do have an amended one or an extension or a waiver, I think that's the specific category that that this is targeting, I think.
Yeah, so,
There has to
They
be a
don't.
hearing though. In order to amend an order conditions,
Right,
there has
you
to be a
still-
public hearing.
you have to go through a public hearing process.
And so it seems
And
to
that
me
costs
that,
money.
and it costs money, exactly. So
Yeah, they
that's
usually
why,
give us
So
a
you gotta
fee
pay
for
for the
that.
advertising.
Yeah.
Well,
And you gotta
no, but I
notify
mean,
butters, too.
it costs us money.
You gotta notify butters too.
I think it's not unreasonable to charge them a fee.
I agree.
What do you want to charge them? 50
well,
bucks?
Mm,
25?
No.
75.
I think a waiver should be more
We're
than
not there
the
yet.
other two.
Do we grant? So how frequently do we grant waivers?
We're not even there yet.
We
Yeah.
gotta-
All right,
We're
sorry.
gonna
I was
amend it.
going under the
Calm down, all right? Come on.
Amended.
Slow
What are
down.
we doing for amended?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
amended
That's what I'm
order.
saying.
Yeah, sure, 50 bucks is good. Why not?
Going once, going twice. All right, 50 is good.
Okay.
Extension.
I mean, extension is usually just done by paper.
Yeah, I don't think I said this before, I don't think we should charge somebody to vote to give them an extension
I
on the
agree.
order of conditions.
Okay.
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 So that's
Now-
0.
Right. Now, what about a waiver?
How frequently do those happen?
I don't even,
I can't remember.
do we even allow it?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Well,
we
you know,
don't
in
do
the,
them.
in the regulations that you've developed, I believe that there are places in there that make reference to the fact that
Waivers,
you
yeah,
can
that
do
was a,
waivers.
Uh-huh.
that was a definition.
I thought we we nixed it.
As described in section 1.11 of these regulations.
Well, plus, I mean, putting a cost to it, doesn't that suggest that,
You
well,
don't
if
want
you want a
them-
waiver, just pay it, and it gets waived?
Well, hold on.
I mean,
Hold on there.
Fair enough.
I think
That's
the
why they
idea
said
is to
$1,000.
try to dissuade
Really?
people from
That's
Or
asking for a
greater,
waiver.
or greater.
I mean,
Or
to me,
greater.
it's like, you know, you don't want people to ask for waivers.
we could just say we don't
You
do
want to
waivers.
discourage, well, that's what I
Well, you want them to follow the regulations. It's like,
suggested,
don't,
is that I
you know.
thought we might have nixed that.
No, it's in the
It is in there.
regulations.
So we do allow waivers.
But I cannot remember one instance when we ever granted one. We've never waived the
Well, we don't have the-
But we
we
can't
don't-
have
we
a
can't.
fee
No, I
if
just,
we're
well,
not
state
gonna.
law.
we can.
Under the state law, you couldn't, though.
Hmm.
Like, the,
I don't know.
So
Board
say
of
$1,000 at the
and the planning
discretion
board
of the
have
commission.
waivers that they can
Minimum.
grant under parts of their permits.
That's what they're
Yeah, I
saying.
understand that.
Greater than
I'm
or
looking at
equal
our
to
regs.
1,000, right?
Did you find it?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Okay.
There's a symbol for that. Greater than.
I mean, I think if someone wants to try to waive the regulations, first of all, I don't think we've ever done it. But if they want to do it, then I think there should be a premium for it.
But how do you end up with a number that's flexible?
It's a
like that?
minimum.
It doesn't have to be flexible.
Okay, so should we just say $1,000 at the discretion of the commission?
No, you set
No,
it.
just-
You put in. I wouldn't even set it at 1,000. I'd set it maybe like 500. I'd make it at the same price as a subdivision NOI. Because the reality is that it's highly unlikely we're going to ever grant a waiver. It's going to have to be an extremely compelling case. And if you look at the regs under 1.11, it talks about why we would do it or when we would do it. And I don't think we would.
But do we need to put in, wherever these figures are being entered, do we also need to say again at the discretion of the commission, or no?
No.
Because
We've
it's
already
already,
said that.
it's
No,
already
no.
said somewhere else, okay.
We said,
No,
look, we're probably not gonna do this, but if you do, it's gonna cost you
Okay.
$500.
So I would just say 500.
Right, just because you have a provision to have a
So
waiver
that's
doesn't mean you're
500.
gonna grant a waiver.
Of course not.
Right.
Right. Absolutely not.
It's kind of like discretionary filling under the state law. You can approve discretionary filling up to 5,000 square feet of bordering vegetated wetland. Doesn't mean you have to.
Hmm.
It says you may. It doesn't say you must.
Yes.
Okay. We're now to certificate of compliance. And it doesn't seem that anyone charges for it.
No.
It's an expired certificate of compliance, one that they didn't file for after the order of conditions
Was
had
never
expired.
granted?
If they don't, they're supposed to apply for a certificate of compliance.
Fine.
3 years?
Right, before the 3 years is up.
Mhm.
Okay,
And
and
if
if
they
they
didn't?
don't, they should apply for an extension. But what is an expired?
Certificate of compliance, I don't know.
Is that
Sounds
one
like-
that was
sounds like a
never
penalty.
recorded, or?
So should we say extension instead of
I don't know. When would a certificate of compliance expire?
I don't know, is there a time frame on it? Once
No,
they sign
give
it,
us a
then it
certificate
has
of
to be
compliance.
No,
recorded?
once it's recorded,
Or what if it wasn't recorded?
that's the applicant's problem.
I know, but would that be considered expired if they
or
never
does that mean
recorded
that they
it?
need an extension?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because you're not gonna, yeah.
Don't start.
Extensions, you're supposed to request an extension on your order of conditions more than 30 days before.
Right.
Yeah,
It
I don't
expires.
think
Could we
I
just
think
mix
expired is
that?
the wrong word here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
You can
question
always
is, if,
blame the Scrivener.
It's those darn Scrivener's errors.
Scrivener?
Scrivener, right?
Scrivener.
That's what Mr. Baker
Scrivener.
says. So it's
Scrivener.
Yeah,
Scrivener's
it's, I
errors.
think they're two different. Well, there's also
It's with a V, not a
Scrivener,
B.
Yes.
so
I think
maybe it's
it's-
an old spelling.
No,
Could
it's
be.
with a V.
Okay, so.
Scrivener.
N-E-R.
V as in Victor.
As in
V?
Scrivener.
And I've seen
Scrivener.
Scrivener with a
Oh.
B as
I
well.
swear.
Maybe it's a
Yeah, I've
corruption
seen
of the
Scrivener
original
too.
word.
Scrivener.
I don't know.
Scrivener
Look
is
it
the
up.
name.
Oh, I know.
Right now.
I've seen both.
Okay.
But
Scrivener.
So, I don't know what this means, so therefore, strike it from the record
When in
as a
doubt, throw
Scrivener's
it out.
error.
No, we've had occasions though when people have requested a certificate of compliance, or no, I'm getting confused.
So is it an
Between an
extension?
extension and a certificate of compliance. I just don't know how you'd ever have an
Renewal?
expired
No,
certificate
so,
of
because what you would
compliance.
do is you would have an extension of the order of conditions and then.
That's what I'm.
You
yes.
have an expired order of
I don't
conditions.
think, I don't think we should try it.
Is
It's
that like
unnecessary
applying for a
then.
certificate of compliance when their order has expired?
But you can't do that.
No,
No?
I'd say cross it out.
Just cross
Strike
out
it from the
expired in
record.
the amount.
Let it
We've
be
never
stricken.
charged wishers certificates of compliance.
we
We
should.
shouldn't
I've
do
been
it.
stricken.
We want them to get the certificate of compliance.
To clean it up on the
Right.
registry of deeds.
Right.
Strychnine?
And
No,
additional
the grip.
inspections, no,
Flu, but
No.
worse.
no, so I crossed that out
I'm
too.
just gonna cross that all out, so I'll just put a 0 amount for a certificate.
You got all the mucus and you can't
When you
breathe.
get your list, when you get the list revised, can you email it out to us just so we can go over it,
Definitely.
Yep.
please?
That all I did right now.
Okay,
So additional inspections, anything?
No.
no,
Okay.
I mean, advertising is the actual cost.
Should we charge for site visits?
It's actually not actual cost, it's $50
Seems
a
kind of silly.
It's kind of like on
Sheila?
tour.
Excuse me?
advertising fee, it's $50 for
50.
everyone, right?
Yep.
Then should we put
Do
that
they
in
have to
there?
pay us in person when we go on a site visit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta have tickets. You get tickets.
Site visit, no. Late fee, no. Parking?
Parking. We charge for
Parking
parking
where?
now.
If you look on, that doesn't make any sense.
It's a yearly fee.
Maybe in a city, I suppose, if you had to pay to park.
Well, no one charges it.
$7.50?
No, I wouldn't pay that.
Yeah, because where's,
Parking.
what does that
Well, that
mean?
was
Get rid of
on
it.
More details were needed.
Just get
Maybe
rid of
this
it.
is, maybe this
Look at
is
our
the
fees.
regular
It's in our
parking
fees.
fee, and the other one was all residential. You know, because Needham has a lot of whatever.
Well,
parking
maybe
lots.
Needham has difficulty, like if you're going on a site inspection, maybe you have to park. You have to pay to park your car
I don't think that's.
while you go on the site
I-
inspection.
No, I don't think
Doubt
so.
that, Ann.
I don't know.
$750,
In
that's an
Boston,
awful lot of parking.
It's a yearly
What do you need,
fee.
I mean, what do you need that for, you know?
No, I
Um,
I
don't
don't know, I
think so.
don't see it here.
It's like charging to go on a site inspection.
Yeah, I think we should
This just says 2 times.
honor and see.
So this must be
commissioners.
commercial.
now, what, if you look, this is interesting, if you look under enforcement order,
Yeah.
Lester and Sutton, actually, they charge the applicant 2 times the fee. So
Oh.
that's a fine. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
called a fine.
That's a fine.
Yeah.
Do
I
we
mean,
wanna- do we want to issue a fine?
well, I thought we had fines
We
in
have the
there
right to fine.
up to a certain amount.
We do, but in this, under this scheme, when you issue an enforcement order, that's a fine.
Isn't that something we've talked about doing in the past?
No, we've talked about issuing fines.
Right.
Well, it kind of formalizes it, I guess.
Okay.
But then again, not all enforcement
I don't know.
orders are created equal.
Necessary.
How about,
Actually, no, we say the regulations per day and everything, don't we?
I think we do.
We do, because we went over this. in
What we could do is we could
excruciating
just say
detail.
discretionary with the board.
Especially if they ignore you. I mean, if you issue, like, we issued that one to Reliant Health,
Yeah.
Reliant
Yeah.
Medical, for example. They turned around and hired an engineer, put together a full notice of intent, and came in with the fees and the process and the hearing and everything.
Yeah.
Well, not all enforcement orders are for an equally severe
Well,
situation.
exactly,
So
but I
it's not
mean-
like the number should be the same.
No.
Yeah, it's got to be flexible.
I mean, it's one thing if you've got somebody that's egregious and they ignore you and they never file a notice of intent and they basically tell you to go pound sand.
Then the
Then you
fine
should be
should
able to give them a
double
fine.
every day.
Be crazy.
The way the
Okay,
regs.
all right.
No, I don't think we have to
Say that
define it.
fast 3 times.
Under 1.09, it says any
Fibonacci
person who violates any provision of the bylaw, the rules or regulations promulgated under it, or any conditions of a valid permit, shall be punished by a fine of not more than $300 per day for each offense.
Right.
For each
So-
offense.
So, period. So leave it.
Yeah.
And take this
So
out.
we'll leave it.
Just,
Yeah, we don't need
Zero.
an additional.
Alright.
No,
Take
don't
it
have
out.
0, just take on
Just
all
take the
categories.
category
Daily.
right out.
Okay.
And then for peer review, I think what we, peer review should be defined as actual cost.
Actual cost, yeah.
Listed as 110% actual cost.
Well, that's Worcester, they want to pay for their
10% surtax.
conservation agent, maybe.
So
Yeah,
see
they
on
have a
park,
conservation
see
agent.
what they're
I'm
doing
gonna
with the-
scratch out site visit, scratch that out,
Anything that we're not
scratch out
charging the
late
fee
fee.
for, don't
There
put
we
it
go.
on.
Alright, just
I
omit
noticed
it.
the water was really
So
We're just gonna, whatever we have a fee
They're
for,
rebuilding
that's
the
it.
retaining walls.
From site visit down to hazardous materials, just take it all out.
Okay,
Yeah,
And I think that's it.
and then peer
Okay.
review says actual costs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay! So we're good?
So,
We're great.
I make a motion that we propose these regulation fees as specified.
Is there a second to that?
I will
Sure.
second that.
Okay.
Any other discussion on these fees? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Still voted.
Put a stake in that vampire.
Hallelujah.
Go!
God, yeah.
All right.
okay.
Okay, where are we at now? Let's see.
Scrivener's error.
Bylaw regulations. Okay. Oh, you guys are in the mood for this now. The
Uh-oh.
breachings of dams. This is relative to beaver dams.
Uh-huh. We don't have a beaver.
Mr.
guy.
Fallon was our prior beaver coordinator with the Board of Health.
And
I think Chuck
Mike
should do it.
was.
No, Tom was.
Yeah, Tom
Before that, it was Dave Briggs. But anyways,
I thought
I-
Mike
No, it
was
was Mike
too.
for a
Mike,
while.
and then it went
Mike
to
Derosier
Tom.
was.
Yeah, Mike was.
it was
The
yes,
late
it
Mike
was
was.
Dave and then Mike and then Tom.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's nobody now. So I had a phone call from the Board of Health. The sewer department was having a problem with 2 areas where beaver dams were flooding their easements.
Uh-oh.
And one was on Ryberg Terrace and the other one was on Holstrom Court. They have sewer pump stations there. They need access. They're having problems with the beaver dams. So they wanted to breach the beaver dams. It was a matter of, property, public safety, the sewer department does have a maintenance order of conditions with us. And so given the fact that they needed to get this done, I went ahead and signed off on the Board of Health permit. Darlene Quayle provided some information, some backup information. So, anyways, I signed it, so if you want to ratify the signing of the breaching of the 2 dams, we can just document the file.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Now, I guess my other question is, do we have a volunteer to take over this dubious and distinct honor of being the designated beaver person?
I think Chuck should do it.
Beaver breacher.
I don't know.
Well, it's got to be
You think,
someone.
It's just someone that needs to sign the paperwork.
Someone
So-
needs
Want to
to-
do it? Come on, you're always outside doing stuff.
Actually, you're the best person to do it because you have a canoe and everything.
I agree.
Ooh.
I think it would be really cool if you did it.
It does need
What
to
does
be.
this entail? Aha, no pun intended.
Well, you gotta assess the situation and
You just need to verify that it in fact is
if
causing.
there's flooding or whatever going on.
Usually the Board of Health would verify that, right?
Right. The Board of
Would
Health
he even have to
investigates.
go look at it?
Okay, so basically I would get a memo and say,
You probably
it
get
would
a call
say,
from the
go
Board of
Phone call
Health.
take a
from me.
look.
They're
Yeah.
like four
And then they're going to want you to stop by.
On
and-
January 11th,
They're
when
going to want
it's-
you. They're going to want you to stop by and sign a form once you've seen it. The state law allows the Board of Health to breach the dams, but it has to be with the consent of the Conservation Commission.
Sure, why not?
Okay, does someone want to appoint you or?
He'll
Would
be
someone make
sworn
a
in.
motion to
He's gotta be
designate?
sworn in, though. He's gotta have like the beaver pelt with
God.
his hand on it.
I'm having second thoughts.
It's too late. I move to
Okay.
To
nominate
nominate
Dan Reich.
God.
Daniel Reich as the 4th
What is the title now?
commissioner of
Beaver Buster.
Beaver.
Probably Beaver.
Beaver police.
No,
No,
Beaver
Beaver
Dam
Buster.
No, you're the beaver inspector.
Beaver
That's what Mike
Dam.
was.
Excuse me, Beaver Dam Inspector.
Okay.
No,
Damn
just
Beaver
whack my
expense.
head with it.
I think I'll go by BDI. Sounds good. That sounds really official.
Oh,
Fine.
And if I,
Facebook is gonna have
the least
all
I have
posted.
to say
in
what it
favor of the
means,
motion?
Aye.
the better.
Second, I
Who
seconded
seconded
it.
it? Okay.
Second.
Louise did.
Thank
All
you,
those in
Louise.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
So he's gonna say nay.
Thanks, Dan.
Too
So
late.
voted.
Done.
Ambivalent.
It doesn't count. Exactly. It does not
We're
count.
gonna have to post the congratulations on
Okay.
Facebook
I can't
wall.
wait to see the minutes on that one.
Let alone the ratings from people watching us.
Serious.
Hey, you know.
Okay,
All
so
right.
now, with Mike
Adult
Wade, I
viewing.
said I got the certificate of compliance,
Okay, yeah, we're down to site
request for
visit.
a certificate of compliance today.
Do we have an as-built plan?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Now the
We have
problem,
everything.
this is my opinion. The agenda says 404 Washington Street, Mike Wade, relative to his landscape plan.
Right.
According to the open meeting law, now there is training tomorrow night, I would remind everyone. You're supposed to have a specific agenda item to vote on the matter. To me, this doesn't say voting for a certificate of compliance.
You're right, it doesn't say that.
No, it says landscape plan.
So I think it should, on the 12/11 meeting,
Exactly,
it should say Michael Wade, request for certificate of compliance.
exactly. That's my feeling, and
Do we need a motion for that, or we just?
I-
I'll
yeah.
just do it.
Oh,
just put it on. I just don't think it's, I don't want to violate the open meeting law, and it doesn't, to me, it
I
doesn't
already
say,
told him that when he was here.
it doesn't say request for certificate of compliance, it says landscape plan.
Exactly.
When he was here, he was just asking me if everybody was all set with everything when whoever went.
Right, we went out to the
might-
site to verify if we weren't
Everything
going to
was
require any
good.
more plantings,
Right.
but now we're getting a request for a certificate of compliance. It's a different thing to me.
Okay, so you are going to have to go back out there again? Is that
Nope,
the deal?
we're not going
No.
back out
It's
there.
just they
Okay.
have it on.
You
the-
don't have it on the, it needs
Public
to be.
notice.
Oh, I
Request
understand that, but I'm
process.
just saying now, he's
No.
wanting to know if everything's okay,
Everything's fine, we
so we can
probably,
just put this on the next agenda and everything will be all set.
hopefully everybody will vote for it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
And we would have done it tonight if it said, request for certificate of
Right. Okay,
compliance
well, I
instead
said
of
I just got
landscape
it
plan.
today, so it's kinda hard when the agenda's already done.
Right,
That's
exactly.
gonna be my new term. That and parking
All right,
lots.
enforcement order, Mass DOT. We gave an enforcement order, we issued one at the last meeting, based on Mr. Kowalski's documentary evidence, evidence of the issues over there. I had a phone call from Bill Clarity from Mass DOT, he's the environmental staff person over there, and they are working on cleaning up the turbidity issues with erosion going into the water. They were going to be checking out to maintain, like seeing if any of their erosion controls needed to be beefed up. I reminded him that, you know, that should be done as a matter of course,
Right,
not something that we need to remind him to do.
true.
You know, he did say that he was willing to meet with the board if the board would like to visit these areas again. So I told him I would bring it up to the board tonight. I mean, they're doing the best that, according to him, they're doing the best that they can to comply with the regulations. They are, you know, that where Tom's Collectibles was, if you look behind there, it's like a staging area for their
That's
basic
exactly what it
operation.
is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a huge wetland system behind there, so I guess we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it. And maybe we could go by
Are
now
there
that,
fueling vehicles back there?
pardon me?
Are there fueling vehicles back there?
I did not ask him that, I could.
Yeah, because
Glenn
I thought one
Kowalski
of
seems to be
the
keeping tabs on that anyway.
pictures
'cause
suggested
That's
there
his
were
client,
vehicles. It looked like a
809
mess.
or 825 Washington Southwood Street, that's one of Glenn's.
Right, well, good thing.
Because he's the one that sent us all that information.
Right.
Because the gentleman was all upset because he didn't want to get in trouble himself because it was on his property.
Okay, so I can call him and ask him that question.
Mhm.
And if you want to take a look at it, we could do that too, just to make sure that,
Did he say when he's gonna have the work done?
he said that they were working on it. I talked to him probably, it's gotta be probably 10 days ago or so.
Okay.
So, I can why don't I just give him a call and see where they are with their updated erosion controls and ask
Okay.
him the fueling question. And again, he did offer to meet with the board over there if you wanted to do that, so I'll find out what the status is.
Okay.
Okay, pending business, miscellaneous, we already voted on the minutes. Next meeting's December 11th, it's going to be a pretty heavy meeting.
It's gonna be a late night.
It's all right.
Unfortunately, yep. So, is there anything else that anyone wants, tomorrow night, training here, 6 o'clock? You know, it's just gonna be, it's probably gonna be like an hour. Town council will be here to go over any changes in the open meeting law and to discuss ethics issues. So, that being said, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted.
Hail
Thank you very
Beaver.
much.